Welcome to this week's Motivational Monday. We are so thankful that you're joining us again for this devotional. Have you ever resisted something that you knew you should do? It wasn't too long ago I was having a lot of back problems, and I went to a few doctors and they all gave me different types of medicine and nothing really seemed to work. Then I went to this one doctor. And this doctor looked at me and he said, I'll tell you what you need to do. You need to get off all of those medications and you just need to find a good anti-inflammatory. Well, I thought this doctor did not know what he was talking about. When I left that exam room, I was determined that I was not going to do anything that he said. I was going to resist his advice. But thankfully, I have a wonderful bride who talks sense to me. And I'm glad she did, and I'm glad I ended up listening because it ended up being a really good decision. When we come to the book of Jonah, we are introduced to a man who is told by God to go and preach to a city by the name of Nineveh. And when Jonah hears this command of God, he initially resists. Instead of going to Nineveh, he tries to get as far away from the city and from God as he can. He ends up in the belly of a fish for a few days, which seems to get his attention. And he repents and he wants to change and do better. But we also have the story of the people of Nineveh. You see, when Jonah finally goes to the city and he preaches to that city and he tells that city that God is going to destroy them because of their wickedness. When they hear this, they realize that they have been living a life in resistance to God, in rebellion to God, and they repent and they change. You see, we have two stories of resistance here. One, willing resistance. The other seems to be done out of ignorance. But both are incredibly dangerous. And here's the great part of the story. You see, it didn't matter how far Jonah ran away from God. When he came to his senses and he wanted to do better, he wanted to change, God showed him mercy. God gave him the ability to do that. With the city of Nineveh, when they were faced with their sin, when they were faced with what they had done wrong and their resistance to God, they wanted to change. And again, God had mercy on the city and He spared them. They didn't deserve it, just like we don't deserve it. But God still showed mercy and forgiveness. Here's the great story for you and me. No matter how far we try to run from God, no matter how much we try to resist God, if I'm willing to change. Just like the prodigal son in Luke 15 when he came to himself in that distant city and he said, I need to make things right, and he returned home. The father ran out and met him. He forgave him. Let's be like Jonah. Let's be like this people of Nineveh. Let's come back to God. Let's stop resisting. And let's have the hope and the comfort and the joy of knowing that if we do that, God's waiting with open arms to receive us. Thank you for being with us. I look forward to seeing you next week.